thing is to make sure that um, you are attending your classes. Don't know why my volume is down, but okay. The most important thing is to make sure that you are attending your classes, you are progressing per se. The assignments, when the LMS is going to be available for you, it will be easier for you to jump on the assignments and do them easily without any problem because you already have the content. So don't rush to have LMS with you, yet you don't have the assignment. So, uh-huh. So, yet to end the session. It is getting hard for you to register the session. You're in class right now. Hmm. It will be hard if you have never attended any class. But registration is easy because I can see most of you are here. Plus, you have to have a Zoom account. So, yeah. Yeah, so I availed the use of passcode just in case you have an issue. Yeah, I availed the use of passcode. So, about the WhatsApp, just inbox me and then we are going to see how. Inbox me requesting to be added on the WhatsApp and with your email. With your email so that I can be able to add you because I only add those who are in Manstack module. So I have to verify, are you in Manstack or you're just here to joyride? You see, you don't want people who don't have interest. Those are the people who come and ruin things, bring other propaganda. If you know what I mean. I know, I have experience in this. I know people. I tried to download the recording, but it shows only watch the recording. You should not be doing that. Let me see. It should not be telling you that. Oh, I'm not answering questions. I'm just picking some questions as I prime people so that we can be able to start the class morning. Let me see. Recording and transcripts. Uh-huh. Our session is already started. It's being recorded as we speak. Let me check. What kind of recording? Recording. See, most people are viewing or recording. For example, this one. Uh, just inbox me. Don't put it on the Zoom. Don't put it on Zoom. I'm not going to find it. You can find my number in the Feb 2025 cohort for web. You see, we have downloads here, but let me see. Um, this is what you'll be seeing on the other end. I can see the download files here. Let me view it in a different perspective. I want to enter the passcode. It is this one. Yeah, you can see you're able to download here, so I don't know, I don't understand. Okay, let us proceed. So today is going to be amazing. Uh, Today is going to be amazing. Why? Because this is where JavaScript gets to the core. And remember, just a disclaimer, it is not a beginner class. I'm not going to define how functions are working. I'm not going to define how if-else statements are working. None of those. So class rules should be able to adhere, so I'll specialize in You specialize in MongoDB, but you want to change to. I don't understand. There's no specialization for MongoDB. MongoDB is within full stack development. Not to sound rude, but MongoDB is inside full stack development. So I'm trying to understand that. You're supposed to help me understand that. Anyway, stop laughing. You guys. Nachoma, you guys. You are burning. Anyway, sorry, Duke. These people are laughing. I don't know if they're laughing at me or you. I don't know. But it's so offensive. Stop laughing. Anyway, so we have done MongoDB. You are now you have that prior understanding of what MongoDB is. You already know what MongoDB is. You can code with it. Now, the next step that you're going to jump into is Express.js. Now, this one is a server-side program or server-side framework for JavaScript because we have so many frameworks. I can mention a lot. We have Next.js. It's Next UI or backend. I don't know. I think I don't know if Next. Let me ask if it's Next.js backend. You see, you have to know we have so many backend frameworks. So it's a front end. Okay, which means we have Nest.js, not Next. Uh-huh. This one is yeah, Nest.js is a backend framework for JavaScript and TypeScript. When you've mentioned JavaScript, also TypeScript works. In Express.js, you can work with JavaScript or TypeScript because TypeScript is a version from JavaScript just with the type safety. We have Nest.js, we have Express.js. All of these backend frameworks are there for you to help you just to make sure that you're good and everything is working. I sent an email to make sure that I believe you have already installed Postman. I believe you already have Node. Those are the prerequisites and you're already familiar with JavaScript. Yeah. From there, we are just going to roll on. Node is not a framework. Node.js is not a framework. Node.js is a runtime environment for JavaScript and JavaScript frameworks. Understand that. So you cannot run any JavaScript without Node. It is not a framework, even in MERN stack. M stands for MongoDB, E stands for Express.js, and the R stands for React.js. While Node stands for just Node. N stands for Node, which is a runtime environment for both Java, Express and React. You cannot run all of these without that. So basically, that is what I mean. So today, we want to just, we have a lot of frameworks out there, by the way. We have a lot of frameworks, but we are going to focus on Express. Why? It is the minimalistic web framework for backend. Like you can spin it faster. I can say, arguably, it is an equivalent of Python. It's an equivalent of Fast API or Flask API in Python because in Python, we have Flask, which is the minimalistic framework for backend in Python. But basically, Python just basically is a backend framework, backend language. So, but it is, when you check the architecture and the heaviness and everything, it is an equivalent of Express. So Express.js, very simple. You just install it as a library or as a package and you are on for it. It is very simple. Don't stress about it. You're not here to learn everything about Express.js, just like you're not here to learn about everything about MongoDB or React. I'm just giving you the basics so that from those basics, you can be able to launch yourself and make sure that you learn more. But the bottom line is, please understand the basics about JavaScript. If you cannot be able to understand JavaScript, forget about Express, forget about React. Because I'll be here talking about REST API. You're wondering, and what are you talking about? You see? What are you talking about? So these concepts are very important. These concepts are very important. So if you go to this site, there is somebody who shared a site here called Quickgraph. And I thank you so much for that. Because not just MongoDB, but you can find other things here that you're about to learn. For example, we target JavaScript, and also we have Express, you see? So when you go to this place, allow me to share that on the group and as well here. So these are just for quick referencing, a cheat sheet, not to make sure that you learn everything, no, but just a reference. You cannot learn everything. I don't know the entire JavaScript. I'm an instructor for everything JavaScript, but I don't know everything JavaScript. So how do I make sure that I stay relevant as far as JavaScript is concerned? I continue researching, I continue doing projects. So if you are here with an expectation to learn everything Express, you are lying to yourself. Actually, you are lying to yourself. You need so many canes. You need to cane so hard. Um, I'm not going to say thunder fire you, but you need a lot of canes. In Kenya, we say viboko. So it is very easy for you to understand all of these languages only if you apply them. Only if you sit down and say, let me start coding with them. It is very easy for you to do that. Now, for Express, everything is here, how to start, how to go. I can just say right now, I'm ending the class and go and do this because pretty much I'm going to pass through these things. But for me, I want to go a notch higher to show you how things are being done. You see? Like you can see these are methods, you can say functions in JavaScript. You see? Somebody saying they are floating. Don't worry, floating is constant. That's okay. So Express.js is very easy. If you're not prior to JavaScript, we have a cheat sheet for JavaScript as well. So don't take it like, okay, I have everything. No. When you do projects more and more and more and more and continue practicing, trust me, there's no way that you're going to say that I'm not getting it. Unless you're not a human being. You see, human beings, our brains are built in such a way that when you are a child, you are born without knowing how to speak. You see, you are born without knowing how to interpret sounds. You are born without knowing how to interpret this is water and this is fire. But how did you know that when I take this is fire, this is water? You were learning. So it is called human learning, human intelligence. You keep learning, that's how you become intelligent. Intelligence is not measured on your high school grades, your university grades. No, 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 no. That is not it. Intelligence is not measured on how good you speak English. Even Chinese people, they don't know English, but they speak Mandarin and they are good, they are geniuses. So intelligence is not measured on how better you speak English. No. How do you learn something and use that thing to solve a problem in your lifetime? How do you make sure that you learn software development and go and apply for a job and get a job and feed yourself? That is now intelligence because you know how to survive. Intelligence and survival are one and the same thing. They're in the same lane. So doesn't matter what grade you got in high school. None of that matters. That is an education system. That's why you see in class, you are sitting in a rows because that's how factories they sit. That's how factories. You're being trained to become a worker because when you go to a factory, you sit in rows and columns. So that's how an education system has lied to you that you are supposed to sit that way. Then you're not supposed to have a business. You're supposed to have a job. Even being a freelancer, that's a self-employed. For me, I'm kind of self-employed because I can, right now at PLP, I'm a contractor. Like I'm consulting to train you, you see? I have another job as a freelancer. I freelance as a software engineer. Why? I'm not paid on a monthly basis. I'm paid on my efforts. So I'm employing myself. Like I do my best to make sure that I provide for myself. I don't have that paycheck that says I have pension. I am not subscribed to any pension. So you see, I have to work hard every day to make sure that my business is running. And what is my business? Just to build systems, just to make sure that I share knowledge. So it is very simple. Go for JavaScript. If you don't have prior understanding into JavaScript, let me also share this. It is coming. Now, Express.js is very simple. I'm not going to dwell a lot, but I'm going to give you a few insights to make sure that you get drilled on that. Express.js is very easy. I don't know why people always cry JavaScript, JavaScript. Very simple. This is a minimalistic framework for JavaScript. Specifically, we have a lot of frameworks that I've said for backend JavaScript, but which one synchronizes very well and which one morphs and marries very well with REST API, that is Express. So we have something called RESTful API. The first time I heard about RESTful API, my head was like, does that API get time to rest? Because it is RESTful, like it is just there to rest. So I was wondering, I was in a PHP class back then in campus. I was wondering, does this API rest? Like it is a RESTful API, so the only work for this API is just to rest. Or when I learn it, I'm going to rest. So I was so confused. But I came to understand that, oh, it's all about CRUD operation. In MongoDB, last week, we talked about CRUD operation. That is, you create, you read, update, and delete, right? The same thing applies. Only for RESTful API, we have a lot of APIs that we can able to tap into, but we are focusing on CRUD operation because you can only create data or post data, fetch data, update data, or delete data. We have others, but that's not our focus today, you see? That's not into our focus today. So learning all of these things, it is very simple. It is very simple for you to learn all of this, but it takes resilience. So we have a lot of frameworks. For example, before I just start the class, I'm talking about RESTful API, right? But we have others. We have others like the newest that is in the market called MCP. So MCP is also an API. We have MCP, Model Context Protocol. We have GraphQL. That's another part of the APIs. We have, we can say, it's called RPCs, but let us go with Google RPCs. So gRPC. Oh, don't worry, you can just note them down and research for yourself, but I'm going to mention how they work. And then we have another one called MQTT. I think, yeah, this one is more of device-to-device API. So we have a lot of APIs in the market, but how do you make sure that you stay relevant on all of this? You see? So these are just part of request. So we have a request for model context protocol. We have a request for GraphQL. You see, it's a querying language for your API. Then we have RPCs. These are so much powerful. Actually, if I want to build something that is super powerful, I go for RPCs because they are remote procedural calls like we have specifically for Google. So we have gRPC for Python, we have gRPC for JavaScript, and so on. This information is relevant for you, for your experience, so that later in the future, in your career, you have options to explore on. For me, I have options. Why? I didn't dwell in REST API just alone. You see, we have MQTT. This is more when you are dealing with IoT. I was working on I think it was 2023. I was working for a client who was Chinese, and I was dealing with this thing about IoT. So I was dealing with RabbitMQ, MQTT, all of these things to make sure that I build the cloud service for that client, then he can use or she can use in their devices. So MQTT is the telemetry transport. We started with TCP. TCP is transmission control protocol, I think, or I've forgotten. My memory can confuse me sometimes. So all of this information are relevant. It comes with the experience for you to be able to use them. Don't just learn for show, learn for usage so that you can be able to say, okay, I use this for this and this. So we have all of that. Then we have another one, which we are going to dwell on it. Remember, we are running REST API, but we are going for another request, which is WebSockets, but I'm not going to touch on WebSockets. It's an old version. I'm going for Socket.io. So we have another one, which is Socket.io. This is used for real-time communication. When you want instant communication, like when I text on WhatsApp, you get the information instantly, like in the seconds. You see, you get that in seconds. So that's why Socket.io or WebSockets is being used. WebSockets is good, but for me, it doesn't work well. Socket.io is now the powerful one for real-time communication. So all of these are good, but our focus today is going to be RESTful API in conjunction with Express.js. How does REST API work in work in Express.js? Then you're going to see, okay, this is how it works, because we have Express.js alone, but that's just Express.js. It doesn't do much. But when we bring in REST API, we are going to understand, okay, oh, see, this is now how REST API works in JavaScript. You see? And later I'm going to show you how GraphQL, MCP, and RPCs, they also work as far as JavaScript is concerned. For those last three, that is MCP, GraphQL, and RPCs, I'm not going to show you like in details, just to brush through, you see? But my focus is to make sure that you understand CRUD operations in REST API as far as Express.js is concerned. And then in the afternoon, we'll be doing like two big projects, just quickly to make sure that, okay, we have Express.js, we have REST API, and how do we post data directly from the backend to the database and fetch and update and delete to the database? If you are in our catch-up class that was on Wednesday, I touched something on that. How does JavaScript and MongoDB come together? And how can I be able to affect change in data sets or data format or data structure in MongoDB while in JavaScript? So then I showed you things to do with asynchronous JavaScript and so on, asynchronous operation, that is async await. I told you about promises in JavaScript. But today, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use the REST API in place of that because they are much more simpler. So just buckle up so that we can be able to enjoy the session. You are here to learn. Learning is a process. Learning is a process whereby you just sit, make sure you ingest the information, you translate in your own understanding, then you apply. So it's a learning process. So if you don't understand at first encounter, don't worry, that's okay. Just sit down, make sure you go and find more resources to make sure that your curiosity doesn't fade away, so that you make sure that you learn more as you progress. Are we together? So it is very much simple. I've shared a couple of resources for JavaScript if you want to do a brush through, and Express.js. Just in case today I go like in a speed like of a helicopter or a jet, the first I go, you make sure that, okay, the same thing that I'm telling you, you're going to understand better. So as a bonus, there's something called API documentation. I'm going to touch about API documentation. All of this is in effort to make sure that I'm giving you the objectives. So we have Swagger API. The Swagger API is another, let me say another darling, because this thing is interesting. If you want to document my API, if you're coming from a Django, if you're coming from a Python Django sector, you do have something called Django REST framework, right? Whereby it gives you the UI. Are we still in class? Give me reactions. Are we still in class? Because I'll be talking to myself, yet I'm not in class with you. Reactions. Okay. Interesting. Now, if you're coming from a Django perspective, we have Django REST framework, right? But now we have also Django REST framework is okay for API documentation. You want an interface, because when it comes to API documentation or API visualization and API testing, you see, we have options, by the way. I can mention a few. Let us go. The first part, on the software part, we have Postman, we have Insomnia, we have RESTFox. These three, they are good for testing APIs. And I recommend Postman because it is recommended for a lot of developers, for beginner and for advanced developers. We have Insomnia, which is a bit advanced. The RESTFox are a bit advanced. So we have these three on the software's perspective. On just the documentation perspective and other things, we have that is Django REST API, but just for Django. But generally, we have Swagger API. So Swagger API or Swagger, you can call it Open API, not OpenAI, Open API. This thing is responsible for helping you document your API testing environment. Like instead of testing it in Postman, you can test it on Swagger API. That's an option. I'm just giving you option. This is just a bonus. And then we have another one. It is called Redoc. Redoc or Redoc API. Let us see if it is. Yeah, I think it is Redoc API, if I'm not wrong. Is it Redoc or am I tripping? Let us see. I don't know which is which as for now. Redoc or Rebook, or I don't know. I think I've forgotten the name, but I used it while working on a certain big API that I was working. I don't know which year. I think it was 2023. I think it's part of it. Yeah, it is Redoc. It is Redoc. So I've not used it for a while. That's why I've forgotten. But for Swagger, I've used it Swagger for in C# .NET Framework, .NET Framework. I've used it in JavaScript. I've used it in Python. They all work together. Like they are good. So instead of using Postman, I just document directly from my code. So I fire up a certain endpoint. That endpoint, when I go to that endpoint, I'm able to test everything. I'm able to test everything as far as APIs are concerned. You see, I can even password protect that API documentation to make sure that only people who have protected access can be able to access it. So this is fun. Let us now go to class now. This is the objective, just to brush you through Express, and then as soon as that is done, you're going to be okay. Now, I'm going to follow a very conventional way, not so let me bring up my Postman. So my Postman, I've done a lot for the past like 3 years. Others have just gone for other. We have our spaces. Each space has their own, but my default space has all of these projects. So yeah. So Postman is a great one. Postman is a great one. Close WhatsApp so that I don't get that disturbance. Put my phone to do not disturb mode because I want now to go to get in that mood. That mood whereby when I start coding, I'm just there. So Express.js, let's bring up our, what do you call, non-stack content, week 1, week 2. So week 2, we are talking about Express.js. So I fire up my code editor, which is VS Code, just to put it standby to prime it to make sure that we are good. Okay, don't have to take surveys. Now, I've talked about your understand the role of Express.js because every framework has a role because we can opt to use another framework, but why Express? So you have to understand the role of Express.js in web development, you see, because you are doing full stack, but at the end of the day, you're doing full stack development for web applications. Yeah. So you are supposed to know how to set up Node.js and Express.js environments. Number 3, just to make sure that we're able to create and manage routes and middlewares. I'm going to tell you about routes and middlewares in a simple analogy that you can be able to understand. Number 4, just building RESTful APIs with the CRUD operation, that is create, read, update, delete operations. Then test the API using Postman or test the API using Swagger and document it and see how it works. So like I've said, yeah, I'm going to go like in the speed of a helicopter. Not to worry, I cannot go slowly because I have much to cover in the next 1 hour, 20 minutes. Not to worry. Now, Express.js, like I've said, is a minimalistic and flexible Node.js framework that provides just robust features for building web and mobile applications. Why mobile applications? You can build a PWA. Let me just mention. Stop crying. So PWA. What is a PWA? PWA is a progressive web application. So this is a web application that comes directly from a web, like a mobile application that you can build that comes directly from web. So I have one, I think, here. You see, I have a PWA. This is a PWA, by the way. I don't know if it is up. Yeah, this is a PWA. I'm building a tool for an application for a client. So it's a PWA. You see, I can even come here and install. So it is something that is very simple that you can able to build. So PWA can work on mobile or desktop. So instead of just saying, okay, let me build a desktop application, no, it doesn't have to be that. You can build a PWA that is installable directly from a link. When I go to polandprojectafrica.org and browse it on my mobile, it takes a few seconds, then it triggers an installation. It wants me to install it as an application. That's now a PWA. That's what I'm talking about. It is the best for building web and mobile applications. Okay, let us forget about the PWA. You can decide to build a mobile application, but you don't have a server-side framework. Because let's say you're building using Flutter. Okay, Flutter is just a front end, but where do you get your APIs? Where do your APIs and store them? So you can decide to use, okay, I have options. If I want to use JavaScript, I have Next, I have Nest, and also I have Express. So it's okay. So why use Express? Because I told you, you have to understand the role of Express.js in web framework. So for you to be able to understand it and why it is being used, it is one, simplifies server creation and routing. When you want to build something that is in a simplistic format, no hardcores, no buffers and everything, go for Express.js. Simplifies server creation and routing, number one. Number two, if you're writing, I'm kind of doing lecturing here. Number two, middleware support for handling requests. So what are middlewares? I take it like security in an airport, for example, or a train station. You have to be checked. You have to be scanned. So middlewares are there to scan, to make sure that everything checks out before it passes. So it is there to verify that your luggage is okay. Okay, what data are you carrying? Okay, this API you are posting. Okay, what data are you carrying? Let us scrutinize this data to make sure that every security measure is checked. That's a middleware. Number three, integration with database and templating engine. Like I've said, database and templating engine. So when we talk about database, there's MongoDB, there's PostgreSQL, there's SQL, there's SQL itself, and everything to do with that. There's Superbase as well. There's Firebase. You see, all of these database, and you have the templating engines that you can be able to have there. Then, of course, the obvious one, it has the largest community and has like large community and extensive documentation. Like you cannot miss anything on Express.js, because a good framework or a good programming language is a programming language not just known by a lot of people, but it has enough documentation. Because you can rely on ChatGPT, but ChatGPT doesn't know that we have the latest, that you as a developer, upcoming developer, you have created your own language. You see, you can create your own programming language, by the way. You can do that. I have just to digress or to deviate away from the class a bit. I have this repo here that shows how to create, let me sort by stars. Build anything. I think, where is it? I have a lot of repos here that supposed to be cleaning them. Build your own X, perfect. So you can come here and say, I want to build my own language. Yeah, you can do that. There is a guide. Let's say build your own 3D render, build torrent client. Okay, if you want projects, these are projects that you can be able to take and say, okay, I want to build this. How? Let me learn. So it is not showing you like this is the project. No, shows you how. You're going to learn how to build that. You see? For example, build your own command line. This I've been doing a lot. I've been doing this a lot actually lately, but not using one of these languages. I've been using Rust mostly, Rust and Node.js. They're the best, by the way, because they are low level. In fact, for Rust, let's say you want to build your own front-end framework or library. You come and learn. You see, JavaScript, 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 JavaScript. If you want to build your own thing, let's say you want to build your own React, you need to go and provide extensive documentation on how that framework works, on how to debug, on how to make sure that you can be able to scale it. Let me share this repo. It might seem that, oh, I don't need this repo right now. Why? But this is how you get experience. You get experience from building. You get experience from building, consistent building. I myself have been building a lot. I have not pushed all the code bases that I have, by the way. I have just a few here, like how many repos? 300. I have so many in my desktop and in my backup disk that I have not pushed because they are not yet ready. Let me add this to the collection on WhatsApp. Okay. I'm just digressing. I'm going back to the class right now. Don't worry. I'm sharing the repo right now, by the way. Yeah, there you go. Billion X. Just fun time and go through it. If you don't have any project idea, there you go. I've just helped you. There you go. So don't go complaining. Oh, I have not been given. No, no, no. It's your own problem, by the way. Now, let us proceed. So if you want to build your own React, you see, you have been told how everything you're going to do, like step by step understanding. This you're going to find tutorials, you're going to find documentation on how, and then at the end of the day, you're going to have your own React. If you want to build your own language, there's there. If you want to build your own Docker, anything is there. So just to make sure that you understand, doesn't come easy, takes everything that you have to do. So just to summarize on what Express.js is, I'm going to give us a short, and I'm good at giving analogies because I myself, I interpret things using analogy that relate to me. So think of Express.js as a conductor. Have you gone to this orchestra or these people who sing king, 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 like they're in an orchestra? If you don't know about orchestra, just Google. Like think of Express.js as a conductor and express. I'm talk about conductor, my Kenyan people. I'm not talking about a matatu conductor. I'm not talking about a matatu conductor. I'm talking about an orchestra conductor, like that person who has two sticks and just does the hands like this, and the violinist plays that way, and the saxophonist plays this way, and so on. So think of Express.js as the conductor of an orchestra. So this conductor is coordinating various instruments. So what are these instruments? When you find in the orchestra, you have violinist, you have saxophonist, trumpet. So in our perspective, all these instruments are routes, middlewares, database to produce the harmonious music. In our case, just to come up with a foundational web application, like a web application that communicates well, like the database communicates with the middleware, communicates with the routes and everything, like they are communicating, they are producing something that is harmonious. You understood? Now, let us fire up something. I'm tired of talking. Let us fire up something. So just to zoom in. If I want to convert you to start using Ubuntu, I was working in a certain startup. Actually, I was not working. I was just there to hang out because for me, I was just trying to pass time. Do you know I made sure like more than 18 developers there that were using Windows. When I was out of them, like 2 months, they were using Ubuntu until today. I can preach Ubuntu to you until you convert to that. If I want to frustrate you out of Windows, I can. Because I can do a lot to prove to you that, okay, Ubuntu is the best. And why not? It's the best. So let us fire up. MKD is for creating or make directory. So let us say Express app. Yeah, I'm saying the truth. So Express app. So this Express app, let me close this one. Let me open this one. If you're talking about Microsoft Word, for me, I don't need Microsoft Word. Actually, I have Google Docs. It works better, even in offline mode, by the way. Should I continue preaching that gospel? Let us continue the class. Now, we have Express, but it's an empty folder. The fact that you are naming it Express app doesn't mean it's Express. So first step first, you have to initialize node environment. because you cannot run JavaScript without Node environment. So let us take a look. So make sure you have Node. So check Node version, or you can just say even check npm. The best way is just to have NVM, Node Version Manager. When you're using a version manager, it's easy to slide through. But for now, you can just install Node barely. So npm init, and then you put y. I'm doing the same thing that these people are doing, by the way, as you can see. You see, like initialize a configuration. This is a configuration for Node.js environment for it to run on top. That's what I'm doing, by the way. So you can just follow along. If I'm going like a helicopter, you can just go along here, because basically I'll be going through these processes up to around here for getting started. It's common. This is the hello world. We talk about the hello world in Python. You say print hello world. But in Express, this is how the hello world. I was surprised when I was learning machine learning. The hello world for machine learning is linear expression. The thing that you say y is equals to mx plus c, that is the hello world for machine learning. So surprised. Now, we have a runtime environment up and running, like an environment configuration. You can see, here it is. As soon as you see package or JSON, everything configured, you're there. Now, we proceed. So we have that. So we have initialized a project. First, we created a folder. Second, we entered the folder. Number 3, we initialize the configuration environment using npm init hyphen or flag y. We normally call it flag. That hyphen flag is called flag y. Now, from there, step number 2 is now to install Express, because Express is a package, it's a library. You see? So you come and say npm install Express. You can say install or just say I. So you give it a few seconds, should be able to install it perfectly. There you go. Okay, let's say I don't want to use, because for me, I have alternatives. I can just show you alternatives to make you free. I don't want to use Express. I don't want to use NPM. For example, I want to use PNPM. Do I have PNPM? Let me check the version. Okay, I don't have NPM, so I can be able to install NPM globally. Let me install it globally, PNPM. That is install it globally, by the way. When you do flag G, you want it global, like entire computer has access to it. So we have PNPM. When I come to check the version, there you go. Now, if I don't want to use NPM, the reason why I'm installing PNPM right now is because this OS is just new. It has not added them out, because I had others, they were buggy a bit, so I was stressed a bit. Then I was tempted to go to another OS, but home is home. I went back to Ubuntu. Now, if I want to use PNPM, I can use, but how do you use PNPM? So PNPM, you come and say PNPM add, not install, add Express. So why PNPM is the best? Do you know why? Because you can see right now it has said resolved 66, reused 0, downloaded 66, added 66. Later on, if I go to another project, it will not install. Even if I shut off my Wi-Fi or internet, it is going to reuse an already existing PNPM. So it is going to say resolved 66, reused 66, but downloaded 0. This thing is the best for that. And when you go here, you're going to find out we have a PNPM lock. Here, this PNP package.json lock, package lock JSON, it was for NPM. This one is for PNPM. And as you can see, I have my package there. You see, it is that simple, that simple. So package lock for PNPM, that's how it looks like. That's how it looks like. So I have options as far as I want. So for now, so I've removed it. So let me even delete this guy anymore. And as you can see, we don't have any dependency anymore. So let me just use our normal way, not to confuse you, by the way, just to explore. Programming is all about just explore. Make sure that you have information so that you can be able to argue in front of other people. you might be limited in knowledge, then you go in front of other people and start talking things that people are going to laugh at you forever. So just to keep yourself with knowledge as far as you can, then you're going to have a very good defense point. Now, good. We have done step 2, which is installing Express. Now, how about step 3? I want you to learn this from now. Um, when you are doing MongoDB catch-up, because the catch-up classes are meant to do this. The catch-up classes are meant to make sure that we are bridging a gap between the next class and the previous class. So it is in between. It is supposed to tie a knot, bring the string from the previous class and the string from the future class to make sure that we are trying to put that thread to make sure that we are flowing. So when you are there in that class, you are not there, the recording is there, shared by email as well yesterday. You saw that I told you that we have an entry file. In line 4, you can be able to see that entry file. You see? So in our case, it's called index.js. If you don't want the index, we can just come and put our name, another name, or that one, or we can just come and say server. Like that's an entry file. That's a file whereby our program is going to execute from there. And I showed you how to change. Number 2, I showed you something to do with CommonJS versus ESJS, EschemaScript. We have CommonJS and we have EschemaScript. By default, CommonJS is the one that is being used. I'm going to show you how. Right now, it is the default because it is not put here, but you can just come here and say module, and then come here and say yes. So when you put, it is normally a 6, I think. Yeah, EschemaScript 6. So it is normally that. That is going to help you use EschemaScript in terms of importing and exporting. But when it comes to just the default, we normally use CommonJS. So there's no need of coming and saying CommonJS here. There's no need because it is the default one. So let us proceed. Because we have an entry file, let us just use the same. That is step 3 now, which is now creating the file, index.js. Are we at a point? Now, index.js, for me, I don't have to use these things. Let me disable the copilot. Now, index.js. So when I was talking about CommonJS and everything to do with the EschemaScript, this is what I was talking about. In CommonJS, by default, you just import things by saying const express. I want now to import express. Require, then I put express inside there. That is now CommonJS. If it was a EschemaScript, the one that I told you, I just say import express is normally express. Import express from, then I put, yeah, it is normally express. So this is now, line 3 is now EschemaScript. Line 1 is CommonJS. You are going to see that in React. I can decide to use either. I can decide to use, but I prefer using the default. Even our tutorial here, they are using the default. So you can see, they're using the default. So the entry file, like I told you, you see, they are matching like they are pulling out words from my mouth. Now, let us proceed. So we have imported Express. Why? Because we've already installed it. First thing, install it, then import it. You cannot import something that you have not installed. So after that, let us now create a server. Like, how do you package a server? Even when you come here, you're going to see they have done that. So the same thing that you're going to do here. So const app, you can use anything, but for us, they are using app a lot. So you are calling that function, that method rather. Now after that, just to explain line 1 and 2. Line 1, we have imported. Line 2, we are initializing the app. Line 2 is initializing the app. You see? Now, instead of every time calling express parentheses, closing and opening, we just call app. So how do we make sure of that? So I come here and say, I'm just trying to give you a boilerplate, a hello world. You see, I'm trying to give you a hello world. So here I'm going to say get. I'm going to explain that. Don't worry. This is the part that you're going to dance for a little while for now. Then we say request, respond. And then I use my favorite. What do we call? I use my favorite function, which is arrow function. Should be your favorite as well. Then I come here and say respond with sending. For me, I like interpreting programming language like English so that I can be able to understand it. This means respond by sending to the client. So hello world. And then I come and close this one and close this one. I'm not done. I'm going to explain. So let me listen to the port. And then I'm listening to port 3000 using that arrow function. And then I come and say console.log. I can come here and say server is running on HTTP, it's normal HTTP local host port 3000. Yeah. Now, let me explain what gibberish is it? Like, what kind of gibberish is this? People are wondering. Don't worry. This is just a hello world. Even if you go here, you are going to see the same thing. You see? Except for these people, they have defined a port outside, but for me, I'm just doing it this way, the old version way. Now, I've said that this one is for initializing the app, right? What about this? People are wondering, what are these? Now, we are defining a route to handle the GET request from the root URL. And what about this one? This one is going to send a response to the client. Whatever client, the client can be the terminal, the client can be the browser, whatever. And how about this one, app listen? Because you see this app, it is Express. So this .get, .listen, .post, they're all coming from Express. Yes. Now, how about this one? Because other things, these are just JavaScript. This is just JavaScript, by the way, the normal JavaScript. How about app listen? So app listen is going to start the server on port 3000 specifically. If I don't want this port here, I can just cut it and come here and say const. I just create a variable, call it port. And then in that I put there. And then instead of putting, I just call normal. Simple. So let us run this thing and see how it works. Because on my point, we should be able to see hello world on the browser or on the client. The client, in our case, the client is the browser. So we come here, just say node index.js. For now, I'm saying node index.js. Why? I'm going to show you the superior way of doing it. So when I do that, I have this running. When I click, there is your hello world. You see, there is your hello world. Now, I'm saying node.index, not index.js. That's okay. So how is this possible? This is possible. Why? Because right now I'm listening. I'm enabling a localhost port using app listen. But then this one is responsible for putting hello world right here. Even if I come and change here hello world, will be pips. For now, it cannot be able to refresh. I'm going to tell you why it is not able to refresh unless I kill the port and then redo it. Then refresh. It is going to do that. So there, one thing that I'm going to introduce that is going to tell you, okay, now this is why. For now, this server doesn't refresh automatically when changes are made in the code. I'm going to handle that later on. Now, what I want to introduce right now is to tell you this is the old version way. How do I make sure that not every time I'm telling the person node file node, no, I'm not going to do that a lot. So you go to package.json. You see the part where script is written. You just come, you can remove this one or put yours. Then you come and say start. Whenever I say npm start, I want the following to execute. So I want node index.js to execute. Then I close. So whenever I come here, I say npm start. There you go. You can see it is running. When I refresh here, everything is fine. But my server is not persistent. Like my server connection is not persistent, such that when I come here and say, "How are you?" It is already saved, but my server is not persistent. Why is the changes not being reflected? This is where I introduce something called node mode. There's something called node mode. There's something called node mode. So node mode is the one that we are going to introduce there. And as we can see, let me just bring it well. Let me just open the NPM. Do we see the definition for that? So this one is a helper function, specifically for the really project. This English is so boring. Anyway, let me go to this. Okay, they have imported that just English there. But anyway, this is going to make sure that our server is persistent in terms of refreshing and connection. So we come and install it that way. So we just copy this and we come here and kill and install npm install node mode. Node mode. So it is going to help us. Is it node mode or node mode? I'm so confused right now. But anyway, uh, is it node mode? Let us see. Yeah, it is not node mode. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that because the English is so boring at that point. Exactly, it's not node mode. I don't know what node mode is, but we are going to be very confused in terms of that. So it is node mode. Just change it to that. So node mode is installed. This tool is going to make sure that our changes are reflected instantly. So when you come here, it is installed. So instead of saying node, let me show you the difference. So here I'm going to say dev. When you say dev, you are going to say npm run dev, not npm dev. There's no such thing. You only say npm start, but you cannot say npm dev. It is npm run dev. So here I'm going to say nodemon index.js. I wanted to see the difference. So let me fire up npm start. So that is npm start, and as you can see, it has our changes, you see. But let me remove pips. Let me remove pips. Save, and then refresh. You see, nothing. But when I kill the server and decide to use npm run dev, you can see it is not more. So it is able to restart the server over and over again. So I'm going to change here and say, what's up? Okay, let us remove that. So as you can see, it is changing. The error was detected and is refreshed. When I changed everything, it is now here. And as you can see, I don't need to refresh. So I come here, refresh, there you go. Like the server is persistently, it crashes, then comes back, crashes, then comes back. So I prefer for you to be using node mode in your development. Now, let us proceed. Let us leave the server running. I've already explained every aspect. That is now creating a basic server. That is creating a basic server. What I want to go to the next thing is called understanding the middleware. Because we have all of these things. But the middlewares, this is where you draw the line because a lot of people, they tend to confuse. These things are great, middlewares are great, but you're supposed to understand we have inbuilt middlewares, we have third-party middlewares as well. So I'm going to tell you, so what is a middleware? Middleware functions are functions that have access to the request and response objects and the next function in the application. It's like, just like I told you, like in an airport, in a security layer, you are searched by this person, understands everything that you have, then that security guard takes you to the next step. tells you go to this place now, redirects you. So that's a middleware. It is having access to your everything, checking the security and everything, then redirects you to go to the next step. You see, that's now a middleware in an analogy that you can able to understand. So just like I've said, these are functions that have access to the request and response objects. And also on top of that, the next function in the applications is request and response cycle. You request, you respond, that cycle. So we have types of middlewares, like I've said. We have the application level middleware. These are just basically bound to the instance of the app. I'm not going to delve deeper into that. Number two, we have other things that are called like router level, I guess, router level middlewares, if I'm not wrong. These are bound to the instance of the express router. Right now, we have not installed the express router, but you're going to see that. Number three, we have the error handling middlewares. I guess most people, when they had middleware, they were thinking about error handling. This is where you define all the four arguments. I'm going to show you how all the four arguments, because normally in the middlewares, we have three arguments: request, respond, and the next. For the error, we have the fourth one. Number four, but not the least, we have built-in middlewares. So this one, they come with Express.js automatically. They come with Express.js. And then we have the third party, which you have to install, like the Morgan and everything. All of these are middlewares. Yeah, we have a middleware called Morgan. Can come here and say Morgan. Don't know if the person who was building it, even I can build mine and call it my name, by the way. That's a good idea. So you can see it is called Morgan. It was built 5 years ago. So this is a middleware, HTTP request logger. For me, I can use it if I want to. But for me, I have some NPMs. I have my own packages. Let me see if I can be able to get them. I have my own packages. Let me show you. I have like one or two, I guess. There's another one that I built the other day. Okay, forgot password. Let us soft. I have Rust packages as well. I have Python package, gmail.com. Let us see. Let me reset that password on my other screen here. Really quick. This is just to digress, go away from the class, take you back. Let me reset the password from here. Are we understanding the class? Are we enjoying the class or just sleeping? If you're sleeping, that's okay. I'm not here to judge you. Let me reset. I have to enter my authentication. Seriously, people, what are those emojis? You need the blood of Jesus now. If that NPM, okay, found it 960. Okay, let me put my new password. I have so many passwords by then. Sometimes I tend to be confused. So I want to build my own vault to put my passwords there. Such that instead of just logging in every time with the new password, I don't know my password. I can always, okay. Let us see if okay. What is wrong? See, I've just changed my password right now. Seriously? Yet again. So boring, by the way. I change a password, then it comes and tells me, no, that's not the password that you entered. Okay, let me do the same password. Uh-huh. Your password has been updated, right? Let us see again. But if it doesn't work, okay, if it doesn't work, I think we have an issue with the NPM today. I can just search it. Actually it was built just the other day. It is called Volt. Volt what? Let me take a look at on the code base. VV, where is V? Let me check my repo. This is so messed up. Yeah, hey, it is Volt Q. I have mine. Let us see. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, this is me, by the way. For those who don't know, that is me. So it is 18 days ago. I was building an SDK, an SDK for Node, Python, and Rust for just storing environment variables and everything. I actually provided all of this, tested, and it was working. You see, for those who are going to say, you're lying, there you go, verification. Can you clap for me one time? Not one time. So, just to proceed, I have that one. I have another one in Rust. Let me see. It is called crates. Go to crates.io. Uh, so I'm not telling you things that I've not done. Yeah, here you are. Also my name there, Okware. This one has how many downloads? 1,000 plus downloads. Actually, the same day. Downloaded by so many people. But anyway, I have another one in pip.py. Is that a site or no? Let's just say pip. Yeah, PyPy is normally PyPy. When I search, I have another one in Python. I built like three programming languages. Here you are, the developer first. Let us verify the name. Is the name of this person who built this thing, Query. There you go. So I have several in Python everywhere. They're working, by the way. I'm still in the process of building this. It's an open source project that I'm building. If you're good enough, look for me behind the tent. Anyway, enough of digressing in the class. Let's go back now. NPM. I should say shame on them because why am I getting those things while resetting my password? It's not fair. Now, anyway, middlewares. Now, on top of all of this, let me just put some social distancing here. I think you saw that I was using TypeScript, yeah? Yeah, I was using TypeScript. I've already said all of that. Let me just give you a boilerplate of that. So app dot, you come and say dot use because you can only use a middleware. Then you come and say request, respond, and we have the third one, which is next. Middlewares, then they don't take any parameters. Sometimes they do, but most of the time they don't take any parameters. For example, as you can see, this one is a parameter. This parameter called route parameter. Doesn't take any route parameter, but sometimes they do in special cases, but they normally don't do that. So you come and do that, and from there, you can now console log and say something like request method, blah, blah, blah. How have these people done it? because I can give you something that is not there. So you can console log anything that you want. You can see we have 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You see? So this is how they work, middlewares. They have so much interesting. So for now, I can just come and say, let me use something called template literal. Do you know what template literal is? Who knows? Just a thumbs up if you know what template literals are. Let me enable the chat for you to make some noise. I want you people to shine. Let me enable the chat. What are template literals? Let us see people who are reading ahead of the instructor. What are template literals? If you don't know, that's fine, because that's not something that you know right now. Somebody saying asterisk, somebody is giving me that, explain what it is, somebody, okay. All of you are partially right, but not entirely right. You are fast. Yeah, I'm sliding speed. That's why I gave you the express. Because if I want to give you this content slowly by slowly, you're going to be yawning at 12:30, and yet you have not hit the target. Somebody saying backticks allowing embedding of actions. Victor, you are almost there. Embedding JavaScript variables, use backticks, write strings, use backticks, allows, blah, 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 yeah. Whatever, okay. Feature manipulation, okay. All of you are good. The fact that you can able to try. So template literals. This thing gets people a gimmick, like template literals, you see? So just to give you a basic definition of what template literals are, in JavaScript specifically, because I've seen that a lot. So you can say template literals, or also known as template strings. So these are specifically in ES6 or ECMAScript 6 that allow for more flexible and readable strings, like in handling JavaScript. So you enclose them with backticks. So instead of single quotes or double quotes, you put backticks. So by doing that, you're going to enable something called like interpolation with expression, or multi-line strings without escape characters. Or in other case, you can say when you want to use like, what can I say? Remember, when you talk about template literals, when you want to use extra characters in JavaScript within a string formatted way. So that's what I'm going to do here. So here I can come and say something like a request. If I'm going so fast, sorry. But I cannot go slowly, because it's not that I have a lot to cover, but we have limited time so that I can share the basics. Because after handling the middlewares, I want to handle the routing. Then I show you how to build RESTful API. You see how time is moving. After that, we test it in Postman. And then I think we can modularize the application, even call it a session. So I have a lot to cover, so allow me to rush. Allow me to rush a bit, because I'm in step what? Step 4. Step 4 in my notes, I have like 9 or 10. Don't worry, not to panic. As some instance, I'll be copying the code as we go along, like in this instance, because I've just realized that time is not on our side. So after this, but as you can see, we have only covered like 2 here. So request method, request URL, but also we can come and say next. So this is now giving permission. Now go to the next. You've already done the checks, go to the next. So this is what we call, I'm going to show you later on how middlewares they come in, how you define them. But for now, this is just a syntax that I can give you, a basic example. But as you can see, it is between the app, the port for listening is down there, should be always down there. Then you have this. Now let us take a look at routing. So how do you define routing? Because I think you already know what routing is as for now. You people know what routing is. Look at line 6. Are you seeing the backslash? Or it's not the forward slash. Are you seeing the forward slash? That's not what you call routing. Routing is where you say, I want to navigate to this page, I want to do this and this and this. We're going to see that more and more. So defining routings, let me just bring in the codes. Now, between line 15 and line 21, you can be able to see something amazing there. So forgetting, we want to navigate to the about page, and then we are going to post that. For example, if I go here and say about, I come here and say /about. You see, we have about page. It's very simple as that. Now, that's about page. How about contact page? You see, let us see what contact page is going to give us. An error or what? You see, cannot get contact. You see, because this one is a post request. It's not a get request, this is a post request. I'm going to tell you more into this. If I change this one into get and refresh, you can see we have contact page. But when I go back, refresh, we cannot get, because anything that you're putting on the browser is more of get. But I'm going to show you how this contact page is going to be posted. Then you can be able to fetch it. So this is defining the routes. There's something that I mentioned on Wednesday that I told you that I'm going to tell you as far as routing is concerned. Backbencher, stop sleeping, please. So there's something called route parameters. So route parameters, you're going to see more into that when you are handling REST API. So what are route parameters? Oh, okay, I cannot explain more of this because they are here. I've already explained it here. So this is where you're saying respond to the client. But when you're saying respond to the client in this case cannot be the browser, can only be another software like Postman. So route parameter, what is a route parameter? So route parameters are very unique. This is what we call a route parameter. And that you can come here and see what a route parameter is in detail. I don't know if they have that. Do they have routing? These are responses, routers. Yes, they do not have. But that's okay. Anyway, let us proceed. So route parameters, you can see this here is what defines a route parameter, because we are navigating specifically to a certain item. So navigate here, then navigate to a certain item. Then you can see request, parameter, and with ID specifically. So not to worry what you are seeing right now, but you can always expound and explain in detail, you see? Because without you not understanding this, let me just explain for the safety of everybody. Now, this is a GET request, first of all. This is a GET request. It includes something called a route parameter called ID, as I've defined there. Now, what this means, what I've just highlighted, what it means that this part of the URL is purely dynamic. It can be anything. It can be anything. It can be 1, 2, 3. It can be John. It can be ABCD and so on. It can be anything. That ID is purely dynamic. Now, the request and response, for those who don't understand, this is merely, as you can see, this is a function. Starts from here. This arrow function carries two parameters, request and respond. So this basically is a callback function that will be called whenever this GET request has navigated to this particular route. So REQ stands for requests. It contains data about the incoming request. From where? The client. RES stands for response. Response, not respond. Response. So you use it to send data back to the client. So this one receives or contains the incoming request. One sends back the response. So how about all of this I've already explained? This one is not hard, because this response send, what it does, just sends a simple text or a simple response to the client. So it embeds I use ID. That's why you're seeing something about template literals, using that backticks to embed your strings and other formats in JavaScript. But what is happening here, guys? What are these? What is this gimmick? So request params ID. So request params, this is an object that holds all parameters. And the ID is here that you are seeing here. ID accesses as the specific part of that URL. The specific part of what? That URL. So that URL can be user/45, user/dead end, user, can be anything. So dot, that ID part is now the dynamic part. So it should be pure, easy for you to be able to understand. If you're saying that this one is 45, so you're going to say user ID, then you put 45. So all of this is this one that you're seeing here. This one that you're seeing here, it is what is being represented here dynamically. So this is how we fetch. So incoming request and then params. So it is going to hold all the parameters and the dynamics that are coming with that. Very simple. It is super simple. You don't need a university degree for you to be able to understand that. Go and do more research about that. It is going to be easy for you to understand. These are what we call something about route parameter. Now, how about query parameter? Query parameter. Very simple, as the word suggests, you're querying something. So this one should be very simple because you're going to see the difference. So a query parameter, this is where you're going to see how it strikes a difference. You see? And still, I'm going to explain it. Not to worry, because the only explanation you're going to have is from here. So basically, you start from this get request, which is going to define a route for a get, which is called search. You see? So in this case, the URL, how will the URL look like? So mostly you're going to see something like search. Most of the time you have seen something like this on your Nini. Then you see the value. Like the value can be anything. Query, you're searching for who? You're searching for a query. So you're going to see Q value. That value is now a query. So how does it come about this? Remember, this is a callback. This request response, this is a callback that you're seeing here up to here. This is a callback, can be anything. And I've already told you that this one is here to hold the request, the incoming request. So the incoming request, what are the incoming requests in our case? The query parameter of the headers. And the response, this one is going to send back the results. Okay, you're searching for this here. So this one is going to say, okay, you're searching for this. Let me take the query. Let me take the questions. But my twin brother here is going to answer us, to give you the answer. So this one, you can call them twins. So for me, I'm going to take the questions. But for me, I'm going to give you the answers. Simple as that. Now, the big question is, what is this? Now, we split it into two. So request or request query. Of course, I've already said this one is an object. Also, this one is an object that holds all the query strings. You see, that holds all the query strings. I said this one is an object that holds all the route parameters. So params, whenever you see params, all the route parameters are here. But when you see query, all the query parameters. When you talk about query parameters, we're talking about anything. You can search for anything, by the way. So any question parameters. We talk about parameters, we're talking about anything, like barely anything. So any query string parameter, specifically string parameter. Later on, you're going to see if you can be able to say about string, how about like query parameter, like number parameters, like query number parameters. You see, we also have query number parameters. You see, you have to know the difference because for this one specifically, we are saying query string parameter. But when it comes to numbers, how do you define for numbers? I think that's your homework. You are going to do that. This is where you are going to pass float, pass int, and so on. But just to go back to my point earlier on, that's what it does. And the Q that you're seeing here, .q. .q is just like .id. But in this case, it's not like a router parameter is a query parameter. This is where it stays. So the queue accesses all the value passed in the query string. So any question that are going to be asked, you're going to package and respond to that. So that's why you're going to see something like this most of the time in your URL. Now, let us proceed. That's all about routes, routing in Express. And most of the time, these routings, you're supposed to put them in a file aside. Then when you want to use them, you're going to import them and use them for cleaner code. That's the purpose for cleaner code. Let us talk about REST API. This is the reason why we are here, people. This is the reason why we are here. So REST API. I told you about CRUD operations, right? So let me just denote this as routes. So let us talk about REST API or RESTful API, whatever you want to call them. Put a social distancing there. Then we have some space here for breathing. Now, there's a basic setup for when you talk about REST API. When you talk about REST API, there's a basic setup that you have to do. So first things first, REST API, they come in JSON format. First, you have to define the JSON format. So you come up here, just come up here slowly, and then you come and say app.use. Then you come and say express. We normally package them together with what we call middlewares. But for now, let me just put it there. So mark this guy. This is how you put the setup. That is number one. You see? Number two, you need data. You need data. So for now, I can be able to just pull up a certain kind of data that I want, but I'm not going to do so. So for now, let us just do it barely. So how do you deal with CRUD operations? Or somebody is going to say CRUD. This stands for create, read, update. I don't know why this is CRUD. No, you don't say update. Update. Okay, it's update. Okay, CRUD. Okay, you win. So delete. So create, read, update, delete. Or you can say post, get, put, delete. Simple. Now let us start with create. So how do you create data? This is the simplest. Once you understand the post and the get, the others are simple. If you were in class last week, you're going to see some similarities when it comes to promises and asynchronous operations and REST API. So let us start it. So you come and say post. So you only post. You cannot say create and then you're saying get. Post is a creation request. Then you come and say, let us have a parameter here. This parameter should be users. So you're posting users. So let us make sure our postman is up and running. It is up and running. Everything is okay. Let me create another. You see, I have options here, by the way. GraphQL, AI, MCP, everything. So let me go for HTTP. So I'm going to call this one. Let me create a new workspace. A blank workspace, call this one Feb 2025 MERN stock. And then here, I'm going to be creating a few things. So you're going to get there, not now. Now, of course, the usual things, the request, this should be a music in your head now. Our arrow functions. See, it's not a must you put arrow functions, but it is cleaner by the way. So first thing first, you need to have a variable that is going to hold the users. My friend, you need a variable that is going to hold the users. So for now, let me define something here. So let us just have an example. Let us have an example of data that is going to be passed to the database. So ID 1, and then say, let us have name. Let us call this one person Beden. Comma. Then we have another one ID. We say to name, call this one person, do. Yeah, simple as that. So we have that. Then we close this one. So this is just mock data. You can say mock data that you want to pass ID and name. You want to create two people. And as you can see, they are behaving like documents for a database, right? That's the same format that you're going to be using all across. That's why the MongoDB is very suitable. Now, first of all, people, we need data. We need something called data. We have data. Now, let us now say const new user. So this new user, how is this user going to be created? So we come and say something like that, very simple. For ID, we are focusing on users. You remember the users that we created there? Then you are checking the length of that user. And then we add one. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all of these. I'm going to explain all of these. It should not be a problem for you at all. Don't get bothered. I'm going to explain this. But before I do that, let me first populate the content there. But just to kickstart, I've already explained from start for those who are yawning right now in class. This one is a middleware to pass JSON bodies. That's why I talked about middlewares. So let me even bring it here in the middleware part. There are some people who are yawning in my class right now. Middlewares. So this is a middleware, line 11. So you're passing like without request body would be undefined. So it's going to check to make sure that everything is okay. And then what you're seeing here, this one is called memory, like we are creating a memory or database, our own database, or in-memory user data. So users is going to act as a temporary database memory that we're seeing here. And then each user is going to have ID, which is of type number, data type number, and a name string, which is of type string. After that, what you're saying that I'm doing here, I'm just creating a post request. I just need to create a post request. This post request, what it does, where I'm at right now, I've created a variable that is going to store data. Then what I'm doing here, I'm going to assign a new ID by adding 1 to the current length of the array. That's what I'm doing right now. So what I'm doing here is assigning a new ID by adding 1 to the current length of the user's array. You're going to see that and it's going to process. Don't worry. Should not be a problem. After that, so that's the ID. Let us do the name. So for the name, it is request dot body. As far as JSON is concerned, we normally talk about request body a lot. Now that is done. People, the next step is now we want to push this thing to the database. So at some point, I might come here and say async. I might just come here and say this one is a synchronous operation such that we have to wait for it to be pushed, then we can proceed. We are going to see that in future. So async, let me just use the normal one. So new user. So we are pushing the data for the new user. And then after it is successful, what should we get? When you give somebody something, you're expecting a thank you, right? So that is what we want to do here. Let us get a thank you or a confirmation that you have received. So there's something called a status code. Status code, we have so many status code. For example, status code 201 is for posting or creating new data. That is status code 201. And then that status code is going to come out in a JSON format, responding to giving a thank you saying, new user, I have new data. Close that one. It is that simple, by the way. You have to understand these things in your perspective. So this one is posting. This one is posting. Okay, let us see if we are making sense. Let us see if you are making sense. So I'm going to go to Postman. I'm going to add request. And this request, I'm going to call it, let us call this request, what? Create. So what I'm going to do is going to copy that URL. So change this one to post. And then after that, I'm going to say users. Is it users or user? Users, yeah. As per here, this is a route. Simple. So what I'm expecting is when I hit this, save, and then hit save. Okay, we have an issue. I think I'm going over my head here. So raw JSON. So I'm going to come here. The reason why I said, currently we have this data here. We have ID 1, ID 2. So we want to keep the ID going, incrementing by 1. This is for incrementing the ID by 1. So every time you're posting data, increment that ID. So from now, if you post another data, it is going to go ID 3. Then this is the thing that I'm going to pass. So instead of every time repeating the ID, if I'm adding data to the database and I don't know the previous data, the ID number it was, I don't know. So if it keeps incrementing by 1, the only thing that I need to enter is the name. That is what I need to enter. So I almost forgot that. Now, so I'll come here because the only thing that I need to enter, I need to use the JSON format. Let me just zoom in again. I need to use something called the JSON format. Push that one aside. So what I'm going to do here, say, yeah, something like that. Then I'm going to say name, just like that. So let me say the name that I'm going to enter is called Charlie, just like that. Then I'm done. So as soon as I save and I hit send, it should be okay. You see, created, 201 created. This is the thank you that I get. And as you can see, the ID is incremented by 1. Are you getting the point? I need response. Are you getting the point now? The ID is incrementing by 1, but the only thing that I need to enter is Charlie, like the name. What I'm giving you people, just try and understand, because it never gets easy. You just need to get to know and understand much, much better in depth. Go and do more research for yourself. Now, let me do another one. So I'm just going to change here. I'm going to say Otieno. Don't know who is Otieno here. But as soon as I'm doing that, the ID is going to change from 3, the current one, to 4 now, because it is incrementing by 1. So send, and as you can see, Otieno is there. You see? Now, that is post request. That is post request. How about get request? Let us work on get request. This is post request. Let us work on read. So read, it is very simple. We want to fetch all of them. So we are going to say app.get, very simple. And then we are going to say we are getting from where? Users. So request, respond, the all parameters of this fallback function. After that, it's very simple. Just request everything. I need data, my friend. Give me all the data or give me my money. So we want everything about the users. That is what we want here. So as soon as we do that, the only thing you're going to do is go back here and come here and add request. And this add request, we are going to say read. Let it leave as that. Then I'm going to use the same, this get request. So as soon as this one, I don't need to pass anything about the body. No. I just need to save. It is going to fetch. So fetch everything and the people. Okay, we have an issue there because it is not saving everything. So it is fetching everything that we wanted, but it is not fetching the one that we have right now. Why is that possible? Do you know why that is possible? Because this is just a database that is going to fetch everything, but the thing that you have done about Charlie and Otieno, they are not here. Are you seeing them here? They're not here. They're not here at all. So it is going to bank on the same. So if you're working with MongoDB, it's going to fetch everything because that database is dynamic. It is putting everything together. It is putting everything together. So you can, this one is for reading all, fetching all. If you want to fetch one, this is where something like this comes in. You come and put the ID such that if you want the IDs, let me just copy and come and say read one. So I'm going to change here to what do you call route parameter, then put ID. After that, I'm going to change. Let me remove this one. I'm going to say const. I want that particular user, that one user that I want to fetch. Then I'm going to say users. Remember the MongoDB queries that we used to do? Remember the last week class that I told you about the queries that we can able to use? Yeah, the same thing. So users, I'm going to find users.find, just like that. Very simple, but I'm going to do something here. So I'm just going to say you. It is going to be very simple. Just relax, compose yourself. These things, they get better, by the way, with experience. If you take it the harder way, okay, it's going to be very ugly, kind of. So allow me to do something. So .id. No, this one is supposed to be like that. And then here, we are going to say u.id. I'm going to explain that, don't worry. Then I lose equivalence. When you use double equal sign, it's lose equivalent in JavaScript. When you use triple equal sign, that is called strict equivalence. Params, not parameters. Params.id, just a lose equivalence. And then I'm going to say else based on we want the user particularly. So the purpose, so this route allows you to fetch single user by the ID in the in-memory users. Remember, in-memory user, you cannot put 3 or 4. It is 1, 2 peke yake only. Now, we proceed. Let me explain line by line because the one that you're going to ask me, what the hell is this? Simple. So what you are seeing here, this one is going to search through the users. Number one is going to search through the users, what you're seeing here, which is an array, to find the first object, the first user object where you can see here. So what is this? So like I told you, this one is called lose equivalent instead of, what can I say, like trying to find the best word to put that. So this one is loose equivalence. We have strict equivalence to allow type coercion. There's something called type coercion. That's the word that I was looking for. What is type coercion? Let me show you. Type, it is called type coercion. Yeah. Type coercion. So in JavaScript specifically, type coercion is an automatic or implicit conversion of values from one data type to another in programming languages, such as JavaScript and TypeScript. So for example, a good example of type coercion is when you say 2 versus something like 2. You see? So one of them is a string, one of them is a number, but they are looking similar. So when you talk about something like this, like let me say in JS, this is the good example of type coercion. And I gave that when we were doing web development, if you still remember that. So this is what we talk about, something called type coercion. That's why we use something called loose equivalence. So this loose equivalence is going to allow for type coercion. But when you use triple, or strict equality, as you can see here, it is not going to allow something like this. So these are all the same format, but different data types. So it is going to allow, it's going to tolerate the nonsense. That's why JavaScript sometimes is not the safest. So it's going to allow for type coercion. Why? Because you might be mistaking of putting a number like this two, and then you put like when you come here, instead of using two, you use a two that has double quotes. So this type coercion is going to allow you to tolerate that. So alternatively, we can use something like this alternatively, but we can come here and say that, and then I say, put there, and then I come here and say number. So this one is going to be very strict because it is strict equivalence such that we want only numbers. So this one is the safe alternative. But because you don't know the user, let me just use strict equivalence so that you can be able to learn the hard way. So we are taking the user data, and then we are equating that from what we have. So this is what you are entering, by the way. So this is what you are entering. So u.id. So this is the ID that you as the user is going to enter. That is what is happening there. This one is just for entirely comparison. Now let us proceed and see. If to Java or what? So we come here and say slash, and then we put 1. So when you send, this is the answer. You see? When I come here and put something like that, 1, and then save, okay, it has gone, but no answer. So not every time that you have an OK, a 200 OK status means that your code is working. Why is it not working? Everything checks out, it has found nothing. You see, it is nothing. The query has executed, but has found nothing. That's why you're seeing empty here. If I go back to what we had and send again, let me see. Okay. I don't know why the code is not executing. So this one keeps getting, as you can see. This is the thing that I have. Let me see this, just for fun, by the way. And just for fun and going on. So let me just go back to what we had here. So when you come here and say 2, there you are. So when you come here and say 3, you see it is 200 OK, but because our database is local and in memory, it has found nothing. So it is going to say OK, but I'm not giving you anything. People, let us proceed. Let us do the update. Update. So update, what you're saying about the update is very simple. So just dot put. So remember, we have so many. When you come here and click, we have get, post, put, patch, delete, head options. All of these are being used in REST API. But we only focus with get, post, put, and delete. The others, we're not focusing on them. So when we come here, so put, for updating, you only update one at a time. When you delete one at a time. So same case applies. So we come here and say, we want to use the route parameter. Just like that. And then we can come and say, very simple, the normal things. You get used to this, by the way. So when you get to this point, what are you supposed to do? So first of all, create a variable. And this variable, you're going to say, we are trying to fetch all the users. So find, like you're filtering. You see the way you filtered right here? You see the way you filtered? We are going to use the same way. We are going to filter by ID. On Wednesday class, I was talking about filtration. The only unique way you can be able to filter is using ID because your IDs are unique. You cannot share ID with somebody. So we are going to filter with the same thing. So let me just copy this. Just copy that because they're the same thing. So this is just for filtration. You filter everything that is there. particularly. And then this is where you draw the line. So you come and say user, this is where you change. So user.name. So we have the one that I want to enter, and we want to change exactly what is there in the body. So this is for updating. And after that, I need a response. I need you to respond to the new name that I've given. So I can come here and say user. So first of all, as you can see, I was filtering by ID, and this is where I change. This is where I swap position. This is where I update, as simple as that. And then I get a response. So let us get a put. So I come here and say add request. That request is going to be update. And then you're going to do put users. So you go to the body. Take note of this. Let me put that there. You go to the body. Then when you're in the body, you go to raw. Make sure it is JSON. So you come here. You make sure the name is the one that you want to change. So you are filtering by a certain ID. You're filtering by the same ID, by a certain ID. But then after filtration, then you're going to change. So here I can come here and say 1. Okay, we have an issue because I've not updated. So I come here, I filter by 1, and then I come and say here, it is not going to change by the way. Let me find the best way to put it because it is very confusing sometimes. It's very confusing sometimes. So you come and say, I want to change this one to something a bit slick. So we have already said that the ID is there, but how do you do that in Postman specifically? So first of all, you filter. But I just remembered that you're supposed to make sure that, I did tell you, you're supposed to make sure that this header that you're seeing here, so the headers tab, you're supposed to go to the content type. Let me zoom in again. So you're supposed to click the hidden, make sure the content type is JSON so that you can go to pass the JSON by the way. Let us hide. This was not there by the way. I guess they updated it recently. Then you go to the body. So after doing this, you go to the body, make sure raw, then JSON. You see? So in JSON, this is where you're going to update the name. So I was right. You're going to update the name. So we're talking about 1. So 1, what the name that we put for 1? We said 1 is dead and right. Even when you come here and fetch 1, when you come here and fetch 1, you get dead. So I want us, when you come here, let us put a query and send. Okay, this is very much messed up. It is going to give me this. Do you know why? Do you know why it's going to give me this? Who knows why? It's going to give me this. It is successful, yes. It is successful, yes. But it is going to give me this because our data, it is manual. Our code executes successfully, but our data is manual. In the afternoon, I'm going to show you how to make sure that the database updates. Don't worry. So make sure you tune in the afternoon. So our data is manual. That's why every time it's going to give me this, regardless on how I change it. People, let me do, I think, the last roll for delete. Let me do the last roll for delete. Then, okay, because of time, I'm not going to do the Swagger. Because of time, I'm not going to do the Swagger. So let us meet in the afternoon and do the Swagger. So let me do the delete. Oh, I'm just going to do the Swagger quickly. I'm going to do the Swagger quickly, and then we are going to get it done. Yeah, Swagger is very easy, by the way. you're going to see that and get surprised. So let us do for delete. Then we do Swagger, then that's it. I need to tell you that because it is going to help you understand. So delete. Same case, we are deleting only one at a time, by the way. So user slash users, by the users slash, you put the parameter ID there, the parameter route parameter there. So request, and then the next person responds. Okay, so you come and say, we filter as well, but this filtration is going to be very different. So users equals to, so users equals to, come and say users dot filter. This one is going to be very much unique. So filter, and then you come and say, we are filtering targeting specifically the ID. So the user ID that you're getting should not be equal, should not be equivalent. Okay, so don't worry, I'm going to explain dot ID. That one as well is so simple. After that, you get a response. It's normally 204, I think, when something is success. So get the, we have 201, 200, 204. We have 404, we have 500. So get to know all of these status codes. So we respond by send. For this one, we respond by send. So allow me to explain. Everything is happening here. So the purpose of this code or this router is to remove a user from the in-memory, the user, okay, based on the array and everything. And from there, the code that you're seeing here alienated, that is the concern. So what you're saying there is we want to delete all the user except one that is matching the ID. This one is very unique because I said users. Delete everyone except the one that is matching the ID. If I want to delete a particular one, I can just come here and say user, and then I filter, then I say anyone that is equivalent to that. May that user be removed. So I can come here and say, you have so many ways of deleting the label. You come and say number. So sometimes I bring it out in a way that is very unique. So the earlier version was deleting everyone except, but this version that you're seeing here is deleting that person. If it is one, it's deleting one. But this version that you're seeing here, this one deletes everyone. This one deletes everyone except the ID that is matching here. It is very risky, but it works that way. So you can delete users, you can combine validation check and everything, but all in all, they are going to be okay. So for example, if right now I want to delete, it's going to delete, but the data is going to remain because you cannot delete in the code. But in the database, it's going to disappear. People, let us check about, I'm not going to do error handling because that's simple. For error handling, that's where you have 4. You have, right now here you have 1, for middleware you have 1, 2, 3. But if it is for error, you can add another one, which is error. It is an error handling, such that if this doesn't happen, please throw an error. Let us do Swagger. Remember, Swagger, this is just a bonus, by the way. It's just a bonus. So first of all, you're supposed to install everything regarding Swagger. So npm install is normally Swagger UI, if I'm not wrong. So it's Swagger UI Express, yeah, specifically for Express. And then we have another one called YAML JS. If you've seen the workflows, you know what YAML is. So install them. So we are going to create a YAML file. So you come and say touch swagger.yaml is created. And then I'm going to target this YAML. So let me just copy what I have. So we are using OpenAPI because Swagger is now OpenAPI. Then the title, the version, and everything. So you can come and say here, MERN stack. API class. The summary, retrieve all the users, blah, 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 list of the users, and so on and so forth. So you want to list all the users. So tag specifically you're listing all the users for this one. This is the part that you're going to follow. User get, fetch all of them, have the status code there, a description of there. Now we go to index.js. This empty space that we are having here, instead of just wasting it, first of all, we come and declare everything that we have. So we have just installed things, but we have to import them. Swagger UI. It is all in camel case by the way. That's the easiest way to understand how JavaScript works. So require. So what are we requiring here? We are requiring Swagger. It is Swagger UI Express. So thirsty. After that, we all installed the YAML. So let me just do it that way. So require YAML.js. I'm very quick right now. Don't worry. This is not even the first that I code, but they are usually code so fast. So we want to load the documentation. So how do you do that? So for you to be able to load the documentation specifically, so you come and say Swagger documentation. Okay, you can say document or documentation. Let us just say document. And then you're going to say YAML. For YAML, let us just load from the YAML directly. When I was starting using YAML, I was doing it the old version way, whereby I just come to each route and chunk each and every one of them as a, what do you call? I've forgotten the name. I'll remember that one. So you come and say swagger.yaml. So I'm loading it direct from the swagger.yaml. And after that, all is said and done, you're supposed to use it. So let me just use it closer to the middleware, but let me just put it here. So use, we do it quickly. So this is just an extra route. So let me just, yeah, it's an extra route. So I'm just going to use it here as an extra route. So app.use API docs. So just a route that I want. Whenever I navigate to that route, that's when I'm going to get everything regarding that. So, but then this is just something, a bonus, not a must for you to understand it. So you want to serve it. So you want to serve it just like the one that we have below. Then Swagger UI, we want to set up that HTTP to go directly to the Swagger documentation. Simple. Just showing you how I usually code faster. Your mind is running so much. So let us fire up everything again. npm run them. So whenever I go here, okay. So whenever I go here, right now this is what I have. But whenever I go to API docs, voila, that is what you have. So it is Swagger, Manstack API class, blah, blah, blah. I can retrieve all the users. So let me try it out. Execute. I have exactly two. I have exactly two. Because the only thing that we can do is retrieve because we have manual database. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call Swagger API. It is easier to explain to a team that this is how my API works, how the endpoints works. You see, this is how you explain to your team. You have options here on how you can go to even run it on the terminal. I can just copy this one, come here to my terminal, run that one, and there you go. You see, I have my data. It is cool, right? I can clear and even come back and try it again. So normally, you populate a lot of them here in categories. For users, everything, CRUD operation for users. For products, everything there. And it is an open source one. You don't need to pay. It is good for testing. We have another one called Redoc. That's good, okay. REST API, REST framework, okay. Opening forums for questions now. Opening forums for questions and reactions. Have you understood the class? Like, Okay, if you're floating, that's okay. Give me reactions. Have you understood the class? Is it boring? Am I boring? Blah, blah, blah. Floating, that's okay. How do you install Swagger? Very simple. You just come and say, where is it? I think it's that it has just disappeared. Okay, it is here. This is how you install npm Swagger UI, blah, blah, blah. You're not cooked. You're not, you're educated now. Floating is okay. That's how you know you are learning. Is it in your head or not? That's where you know. Because there's somebody who doesn't know if he has understood or not. It's just in between. Yeah, you are going to get it. Come in the afternoon, you're going to see all of this and play. Because right now, okay, you have already learned, but you don't know how to use it in a project. We want to do 2 projects in the afternoon. You want to do 2 projects in the afternoon. Just beginner level projects. It's going to be a shorter class, depending on the size of the projects. I've not yet even decided. I want to decide in this break that I want to take. So it is going to be very simple. If you are not yet added to the MERN Stack group, please just find my number. I'm not going to give you here. Find my number. I'm going to text you. I'm going to text me your email that you used in the LMS. I'm going to confirm if you are in MERN Stack class. If you are not, I'm not going to add you to the WhatsApp. If you are, well and good, I'm going to add you to the WhatsApp. We are currently at people. Yeah, we are currently at 800 people. You're supposed to be around 1,000. Don't worry. Welcome to the club. I don't want to stammer. When I stammer, I feel like I'm not delivering. I normally don't sound so sure. Plus, the session is being recorded, so why not? You have the resources. Yeah, I'm going to share the repo right now for this code. Even let me see if I can go to push it. Okay, let me allow people to talk. Noise makers, where are you? I want to take 2, 3 questions, then I'm going to call it a session. Warren, afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
You are not audible.
Can you hear me?
You are not audible. Can hear you, but not audible.
What about now?
Speak up, speak up, speak up. Not
What
yet.
about now?
Not audible as well. My volume. Oh, people, my head runs the way the speed that I type is the way my head runs. So bear with me.
My question is, can you recommend YouTube courses so that we can easily follow up?
Come again?
Can you recommend YouTube courses so that we can follow up?
YouTube courses?
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe let me see. It's not even about YouTube or anything, just about learning. I think YouTube by tutorial point. Go and find YouTube by tutorial point. I don't know. I'm going to be sharing these resources later on. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Steven. Steven.
Hey.
Steven is not talking. Go to the next person. Asford, long time no see.
Yes. Morning, Mr. Deda.
It is
Right.
afternoon actually.
Afternoon. Yeah, sorry about that. So for me, I'm having some issues learning this swagger.json. At my end, it's
Am I the only one who is not getting people or what? Let me see. I might be the only one because your audios are low, super low.
what about
You
now?
people are speaking so low. I don't know if you can speak up.
Okay. Now, am I audible?
You are.
Oh, okay. Great. For me, I didn't get about the swagger.json because at my end, it has a couple of errors. Like for now, I'm having a- an npm missing script.
Wow, I'm struggling to hear you people. Wow. So Nadia, go and check your email. I shared the recordings. Wow, let me get another person. I'm not able to hear Asford. Don't know if I'm the only one. For those who want to be added on WhatsApp, just go and find my WhatsApp link, my WhatsApp number, and inbox me with your email, LMS email. I'm the only one I think I know where the issue is. I'm going to resolve that in the next class. Thank you for those who are sharing. Two more questions. Stephen,
Hi, can you hear me now?
I can, but let me struggle. Anyway, ask.
Thank you. So my question was,
Mhm.
based on what you've done, what's the difference between, what's the relationship between Mongo and Express? Or is it something that you're going to show us later?
MongoDB is a database. Express is a backend framework.
So do we need to get to, are we supposed to know the relationship right now? Like based on what you've done, like where will MongoDB come in?
Yeah, I'm going to share that in the afternoon. There's a very big difference, but there are so much similarities because first of all, MongoDB works in a document type, like an object-like way, how you store data. That's exactly how JavaScript uses objects. And as you can see, we have seen how objects are being stored like a database format. I've shown you the users that have created the two objects. That's how JavaScript is being done. And it marries a lot into MongoDB. There's a lot of aspects that they sync together with MongoDB with Express.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks a lot.
Ladies, Gary,
Yes, Dedan. Can you hear me?
hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Let me just struggle. The problem is on my end.
Or you should clean some ears. Anyway, I'm getting an error. So I've created on in Postman, but when I create and I send, I'm getting an error 404.
Mhm. In Postman, you're getting error 44.
Yes,
Means that the what you are querying is not existing. Check if you are using users or user. It is users, not user.
yes, I'm using users.
You're not supposed to get error 44 unless you screenshot your issue. Okay, exactly 44 because you're trying to post or get.
To post.
Then check your code because there's a problem in your code. Let me show you back, then you can compare.
Also, when I've installed Swagger, it shows it has completed installing, but in the files I can't see it like yours. There in the Express app, you have swagger.yml or YML.
No, you create this file. This file you create manually. Swagger.yaml, then you put code here.
Okay. Okay.
In the meantime, compare. Ladies, where are you? I want one lady, then I can be able to close the session. The gentleman, just put your hand down. Don't know if this is a lady, but let us just take a chance. Hello. Adeleke. That name is so hard. Adeleke. Anyway, people are not talking, so thank you so much for showing up. Let us meet on the afternoon. If you're floating, I hope in the afternoon you're not going to do so because we'll be doing so much. We tend to understand these things when you do projects. Right now, it's just pure content, but you get to understand it when you apply it in a project and you see it working. When you build a house, first of all, you're not sure if this cement is working. Is this cement expired? Is this cement original? But when you build a house with that cement, then the house is finished. Okay, for those who are working in construction sites, there's a part whereby you are creating the slab. So you are is this cement going to work or not? So just try it. If it doesn't work, okay. If it works in this case, like you get experience by doing it. Floating is okay. That's why we have assignments. That's why we have hands-on classes. That's why I split the classes into 2, not 3. The morning session that you're having right now, pure content. The afternoon one, just hands-on. If you are not able to attend either of the 2, the recordings are always provided. If right now you don't have access to LMS, I usually provide the recording via your emails. So you don't have any excuse. By the fact that you're in class right now, it means that you saw my email. The recording for the catch-up is already embedded there. Just go and check. Instead of doing 3 classes a day, repeating the thing that I did in the morning, afternoon, and evening, we are not productive. It is productive when I give you much time to digest, to make sure that we have content that we have so much time to process, to make sure that we are getting it done. That is much okay. Yeah, even for me, if I prefer being taught, if there's a recording, let it just be a recording for 1 session, like 2 sessions per day on Friday, but they are different recordings. It is easier to do that, and it is for productivity. Then we have assignments. We have a catch-up class. Then we have resources. We usually intermingle in WhatsApp a lot. Very soon, I'm going to be reaching out personally to people to make sure that, okay, where are you stuck? Because we are checking, we are keeping track. Right now, we have like close to 200 people who have done the assignment week 1. After week 3, around there, I'm going to be checking who is not able to perform, who is not in class, so that I can see how I can help you. We are not leaving anyone behind. We want everyone to graduate. Please make it an effort to join on Wednesdays, because apart from just covering the previous week and seeing what we are going to cover in the next class, I usually talk about data structures. And if you're in the previous class, for the catch-up class, you saw what I was telling you. Why am I talking about data structures? After you're done with the specialization, you have like a month for talent assessment. This talent department, they're going to assess you. And the difficult part of the assessment is people normally don't understand data structures algorithms. So that's the part that I'm trying to encourage you, to give you tips here and there, here and there. In the previous catch-up, I show you just a preview of what you can do about data structures. I know a lot of people floated, but I gave you that sneak peek of this is what you're going to sit on an interview and do. In an interview, the interviewer is not going to tell you, give me a post request. No. Interviewer is going to give you a data structures question. Data structures algorithm, when you master it, it means that you are a developer who is a problem solver. There's one thing being a software developer and being a problem solver. You can only be a software developer, but you're not a problem solver. So you don't have a job because you're failing interviews. I can train you, but when you fail to get an interview, you're going to come back blaming me. So I don't want you people to say that the information was get kept. Like I want you people to say that, okay, we benefited a lot. Apart from what the curriculum was offering, our instructor was giving us extra because we are having a job. Because passing that interview is the hardest part. And that's where data structures and communication, everything about the interview, just giving you the preamble. When you go to the assessment, they're going to give you more. We're in the talks to make sure that it is a module by itself, data structures algorithm. It's a module by itself to make sure that everybody gets the chance to even fight in an interview. Because technical interviews are mayhem. They are a disaster. I've failed a lot of interviews in my life. Hey, I cannot even mention. I reached to a point I gave up. I say, I'm not going to create a resume. I'm not going to make sure that I have a cover letter. I'm not going to do that. I gave up because data structures I was never taught. I was saying, I can build a project. I've built like 10 of them or 100, but when I sit on an interview, blank. Why? There's one thing building application. There's another thing understanding the logics between the code bases. That's where data structures come in. So careful when you learn, because don't just learn Express.js and that is it. There's a lot to it, by the way. Anyway, let me make sure that I share this before I close the session. Let me see if I can able to pull up that GitHub. Anyway, thank you for staying in the class. The session is over for now. Let me stop the recording.